Trixie's Forest Retreat. By Crow's Crow. Chapter 30. Rueful. After Trixie tackled Fluttershy away from the throne, she broke down. Pinning the confused and frightened Pegasus to the ground, Trixie was terrified she'd fly away before giving her a chance again. "I'm sorry. I am. Please don't leave. If I let go now she'll leave." It took Fluttershy a moment to realize what had happened. Trixie had attacked her out of the blue. "Ouch, wah. Trixie, let me go." Fluttershy struggled below Trixie on the courtroom floor, trying to escape from the crazed mare. Her wings flared up, giving a couple of quick beats. Trixie's felt her heart sink. "I knew it. I knew you'd try to leave. Please stay, I won't do it again, I promise. Just listen to me." She just knew she had to convince Fluttershy. Her hold on the other mare grew tighter. The excitement and the tumble brought back the headache. Her vision blurred for a moment. Fluttershy stopped fighting, her teal eyes just stared up at Trixie frightened. She was not sure why Trixie was suddenly giving her an ultimatum, obey or be struck. But then why was she sorry? Because it had to be this way. What? No, this is wrong. I don't know what I did. Was I not fast enough? Is that why you are mad? Please just let me go, Trixie. I don't like this. No, I'm not mad. You are. Aren't you? I don't know. I need to think, and you can't leave till I do. Trixie's head throbbed painfully, in sync with her rapid heartbeat. With Fluttershy no longer resisting, she tried to calm down, thinking of what to say. "I'm sorry. Really? If you are sorry then let me go." Fluttershy spoke softly. Trixie bit her lip. No, you're gonna leave me too." Tears welled up in her eyes as she spoke. Fluttershy stared up at Trixie while she was pinned down. Her eyes took in each detail of the tense and shaking Trixie. She did not find what she expected. Trixie was not intimidating, she was not glaring at her or baring her teeth. Instead she looked so small, like her world was collapsing around her. Fluttershy's expression softened at the sight. It was something she could recognize much better, a similar kind of upset as she had seen after she joined the pair on the cloud. She brought up her hooves around Trixie. "Shh. Don't let go then, just come here. It's okay. I'm staying, I promise." She embraced Trixie and pulled her close, letting one hoof stroke her mane. Trixie jolted when she felt Fluttershy pull her in, but eagerly accepted the warmth offered her, trusting Fluttershy's promise. She closed her eyes when she felt the soft butter yellow fur against hers, soothed by the touch and reassuring voice. "I'm sorry." "I know, and it's okay. I don't blame you, Trixie. You're not well." She carefully petted Trixie as she spoke, looking at the unicorn's horn. Trixie didn't notice the remark. She was much more relieved to hear Fluttershy say everything was fine. She still kept a grip on the mare, but it was much more gentle now, simply hugging her. She rested her muzzle in the pink mane, a scent of leaves, earth and sweat. It was to be expected after their ordeal with the timber wolves. Trixie's muzzle wrinkled. "I am sorry," she repeated again. It was hard to think of something more meaningful to say. Fluttershy shook her head. "I understand. Just calm down, I'm not mad at you. Rainbow Dash will be back soon, then we can just have some lunch, and after that we'll go back home, okay? Oh, I should never have agreed to this." Trixie's eyes shot open. Rainbow Dash. She looked at Fluttershy uncertainly, her eyes darting up at the sky then back to her. "So she is mad at me. I did something wrong. I don't know how to fix it." "Oh, don't worry. Rainbow Dash is not going to stay mad at you. Why, I'm sure she will forgive you if you apologize." "What happened, Trixie?" Fluttershy just smiled warmly, as though whatever was bothering Trixie had long since been resolved and she was just waiting to tell her so. Trixie blushed and lowered her gaze, staring at a tuft of grass that grew between the tiles. "You are I kissed her. She could swear she felt Fluttershy tense up below her. She was unable to bring herself to lift her head to check her expression. Oh my. It was all Fluttershy managed for a while. She'd frozen completely, just staring at Trixie. It took a moment for her to register the gradually growing little tremors coming from the pony in her hooves. "Oh no. I'm sorry. Look, I was just surprised. I did not think that you would be What? Well, I don't think Rainbow Dash is. Is that why you are upset?" I don't know. It's just Rainbow Dash got really mad at me. She did not hit me, but it hurt. I don't want her to hate me." Trixie closed her eyes tight, trying to push out the memory of how humiliating it had been to be so wrong in the fight that followed. "Now you stop that right now. She does not hate you. I think I might know why she got mad at you." "You do? How do I fix it?" Well, it's not really something you can give back. You see, I've known Rainbow Dash for a very long time. Almost as long as I can remember. We went to Ponyville together, attended the same flight school, lived in the same district of Cloudsdale. Why, I would not be surprised if we came from the same hospital. Oh, sorry. Trixie had managed to bring one eye up to look at Fluttershy, and the confusion about the tangent she went on was clear on her face. I'm saying, we've been friends forever. She's very assertive, confident, pretty, passionate, and a fantastic flyer. There were plenty of ponies I knew of that liked her, not in the friends kind of way either. We often talk, she never talked about any of them. I see her a lot, she's always training, or working, or lazzing. I guess I should call it resting, but I've never seen her with a special sun pony. So you're saying she just has no interest in other ponies like that? Well, that's not really what I meant, though I guess that maybe is true, but what I mean is I don't think she's ever kissed some pony before now. Chapter 31. Rarity. The ponies below looked like ants. Rainbow Dash felt the wind rush through her prismatic mane, rushing the cold gusts of the air through her fur. She zigzagged through the clouds effortlessly, while her eyes scanned her surroundings. Figures that the first thing I do after she shows she isn't scared anymore, is give her reason to fear me. Way to lose your cool, Rainbow. It's not like she can read minds, even if she claims she could. She dipped one wing and began a slow spiral down towards Ponyville. Taking flight had turned out to be a good decision. The cold high-altitude air helped cool her head. She reached up one hoof to stroke along her lips. Still, that was not how I pictured it. I guess that's what I get for being such a coward for too long, huh? It's as much my fault as hers, maybe more. She was just confused, right? She could still vividly see Trixie's face staring at her in mild annoyance, then melt to confusion while she tried to figure out what the heck Rainbow Dash had been up to. It had been fun at the time. What came afterward sent a painful stab through her chest to remember. Trixie had brightened up so much, her lavender eyes wide and shining. A prelude to what was to come as Trixie finally allowed herself to smile, brighter even than when she was reunited with her hat and cloak, and kissed her. Yeah. Confused, sure. Everybody looks over the moon when they are confused. It's not as if I hurt her feelings. I just corrected them. Right. Then why does this hurt so much? The words echoed through her mind. Her stomach felt as if she'd eaten Sweetie Belle's cooking. Rainbow Dash sighed while she thought back on her snapping at Trixie. She had been so angry for losing something so important to what she at the time considered to be a prank. By the time she had realized Trixie was sincere, or at least that Trixie believed so, she already had burnt her down and scattered the ashes. Rainbow Dash did her best to dismiss the notion, drifting off course to crash herself through a rain cloud as though she hoped it would wash the thoughts away. It seemed to work. How was I supposed to know she'd have no idea what friendship felt like? Alright, great and powerful Trixie, I guess it was kind of obvious nobody would like her. Somehow that thought did not sit right with Rainbow Dash. Was Trixie really that unlikable? Had no pony ever tried to look past her venom, insufferable ego and antics for the pony underneath? The more she pondered it, the more likely it seemed. Trixie was pretty horrible, and if Rainbow Dash was honest with herself, the only reason she had even tried doing anything with her was to help Trixie recover from the state she had put her in. Yes, she is all those things, but come on. She can't always have been like that, right? Trixie is much nicer to Fluttershy. So there's got to be a decent pony under that somewhere. Did she just never get a chance to show it? Would I have given her a second look if it wasn't for how horrible I was to her? The ground rapidly approached. She scanned for a good place to land. She also had a choice to make as to where she would go first. As promised, she had not recovered Fluttershy's saddlebags, making Sugar Cube Corner one of her destinations. But she had never said anything about the other torn and dragged item, grinning while she glanced down at the purple, star-decorated hat held in her hooves. Who would have thought I'd get another chance at this? I'm not going to mess it up this time. Her hooves struck against the road, folding her wings onto her back. Around her, ponies were going about their day as usual, shopping or dragging their goods to market. She was already at the first stop, trotting up to the fancy carousel boutique adorned in what Rainbow Dash assumed were fashionable collars. Rainbow Dash knocked on the door. "Rarity? Are you allowing ponies inside yet?" It's been like a week. She had not seen Rarity out in public ever since Trixie had turned the mare's hair into some horrible green swamp rat's nest. "Yes, Rainbow Dash, I've reopened the store since 2 days ago." Rarity's voice increased in volume from behind the door until it swung open, revealing the pristine white unicorn. Her mane, however, was not its usual purple, but solid black. Come in. What brings you to my boutique? I was not expecting you. Did you have a change of heart? Tea." She turned and motioned for Rainbow Dash to follow. Rainbow Dash stared shocked at Rarity for a few moments, then hurried inside after her. Well no, I told you before, you are never getting me in a dress." "No way, no how. I'm here for something else." "Oh, we will see about that. Mark my words, you will come around one day. So if not that, then why are you here?" Rainbow paused to set Trixie's hat upon her head, grinning widely as she got close behind Rarity. "Oh, you'll find out. By the way, nice hair." Rarity stopped in her tracks and twitched. "It was the best I could do on short notice. Let's agree right now that you never speak again of what happened with that witch," she screamed after she turned around and briefly mistook Rainbow for Trixie, stumbling back gasping for breath. "Where did you get the thing? And what on Equestria did you do with it? You should not treat a work of art like that, Rainbow Dash, even if it belonged to she who will not be named." Most of Trixie's tricks during her show had been of short duration. Rainbow was merely made dizzy, something she recovered from within the day, and Applejack was swiftly untied. Unlike every pony else, Rarity's curse from Trixie had lingered long after the show, and the resentment clearly still very fresh in the now black-maned mare's mind. The reaction was just priceless to Rainbow Dash, roaring with laughter at the sight of Rarity's face. She faltered once she caught sight of the dagger Rarity stared at her, doing her best to rein herself in, but still sniggering under her breath. "Timberwolf got to it. I figured you would know how to fix it up." "I beg your pardon? This is serious, Rainbow Dash. What did you do?" "Just because it belonged that horrible witch does not make it okay to torture a perfectly innocent piece of clothing." Rarity's horn flared up, lifting the hat off Rainbow Dash. Floating it towards her for inspection, it was filthy and ripped. In fact, her wardrobe was the one redeeming quality of the main murdering mare. "I don't suppose you also found the witch's cloak? It was a rather beautiful set that really should not be parted." Rainbow Dash could not really explain it, but she felt a flame ignite inside of her veins as Rarity spoke. "Her name is Trixie." Any lingering giddiness had dropped from her voice. "I suppose this can still be salvaged. And free of charge, I insist." The hat flew towards one of the mannequins. "Yes, I am aware of that, Rainbow Dash. It was pretty hard to miss with her repeating it over and over. I suspect she was trying to fool herself more so than the crowd. It gave Rainbow Dash pause. She was not sure why she was so angry at Rarity. She was being her usual generous self. She's not that bad if you get to know her. What am I saying? I just got through screaming I did not know her barely 10 minutes ago. Oh? Well then let's get to know her, shall we? Rainbow Dash blinked. Did Rarity know she and Fluttershy had been harboring Trixie? That could not be right. The only one that should have been aware of it was Applejack, though that was more because Rainbow Dash was such a terrible liar. How? It's not like she's been in Ponyville all this time or anything. Not like that, dear. You see, you can tell a lot about a pony by their clothes. Most ponies don't wear any. What's that say? That they don't have a fashion sense. This one does. Rarity lifted the hat with her magic and brought it back towards them, crystal blue eyes scanning every inch of it while it turned in her magical grasp. That is interesting. Are you sure this is her hat? I never said it was her hat, but yeah, I'm sure. Why? Oh, well, it's just that it looked much newer during the show. Rarity raised a hoof to preemptively silence Rainbow Dash. Not because this is after you fed it to a Timberwolf. We'll be ignoring these new gashes for now. Hey. I did not feed it to a Timberwolf. Right. You will have to explain after this. First, look at this area here. Do you see how it looks new on the outside? But if you look on the inside you can see it is in fact a tear that has been repaired. She turned the hat inside out to demonstrate her point. Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes with the entire concept, but she did not when she saw what looked like stitching where Rarity pointed. But there were so many others it was hard to tell which one she actually tried to point at. Well yeah, but it's got that all over the inside of that hat, so what difference does that one make? Very perceptive, Rainbow Dash. Rarity sounded genuinely surprised. But that is actually the point. There is no difference. Every one of those tears, gashes and holes has been patched up meticulously. This hat is old, but it has been maintained extremely well. Now this tells us two things. That she had a good tailor and new hats are expensive. No. But not a bad dry Rainbow. The amount of damage to the hat tells us she is completely careless, and spares not a single thought to possible negative consequence of her actions, or ignores them. She's just plain blind to them. Rainbow Dash raised a brow as she heard this. It did seem to fit somewhat with what she knew of Trixie. Trixie had done a lot of things, only to act nearly surprised when they worked out badly. Still, she had also seen her regret her actions, a lot. She was about to open her mouth when Rarity continued. Yes, I know. This is hardly surprising given what we saw of her during that egotistical mule play she called a show. But the next part is the shocker. See how this area here around these fixtures the fabric breathes slightly more? It's what happens when you continuously stitch and unstitch the same area. Yeah, of course, Rarity. As far as she could tell the fabric was the exact same, and how did fabric breathe? She did not see any nostrils or mouths on it. She would have to discuss this with Pinkie Pie later when getting lunch. It seemed like the kind of thing that would be right for her. So what does that mean then? It means she does dwell on her mistakes, obsesses over them in fact, and she does her best to fix them. Trying over and over till the gash is properly repaired. Look at just how much effort she puts in to make sure it looks perfect again. Or it means she just really likes this hat. She sure was in no hurry to repay Ponyville for the Ursa attack, or to apologize for the things she did to me, you, and AJ. Yes. But that simply means she only does it when she cares about the ones she damages and realizes it. She cares for the hat, so she goes great lengths to fix it. If she actually ever cared about another pony, I'm sure she'd obsess over the two. Not that I expect that witch to care of anything but herself and her personal possessions. That lack of other ponies might be a good thing really. If she gets as attached to ponies as she does this hat, combined with her lack of foresight, I imagine it would torment her a lot. Rainbow Dash swallowed uncomfortably while she stared at the inside-out hat. So, what happens if that happens? Rarity looked at Rainbow Dash for a moment, as though it had only just occurred to her that Rainbow Dash, was sitting next to her staring at her hat, and actually was interested. Oh well. You know the star pattern, yes? She turned the hat to demonstrate the varied-sized and shaped stars. Yeah, what about it? Not all of those stars are part of the original design. You can tell they're out of place here and there if you look closely. There is a very simple reason for it. Take this star for instance. She pressed her hoof on one, then flipped the hat, pressing up through it to show the inside behind the star. It was a mess. Even Rainbow Dash could tell the repair attempt failed miserably on the inside. Rarity continued. This was probably something she did not have the skill to fix, or maybe simply could never be fixed, but even I can't tell at this point. She tried though. And each attempt just made it worse. The surrounding fabric is torn, the threads are frayed, the stitches too tight. It's a disaster. You can just about feel her desperation increase with each try. So finally she gave up, left the entire mess for what it was and stitched a pretty picture on it to hide her failure on the outside, and moved on. Sounds about right, doesn't it? Yeah. Rainbow Dash stared at the back of the star. The implication left her feeling cold. So, where is she, Rainbow? Chapter 32. Regional. The sun shone through the long-since collapsed roof of the throne room, warming the ancient stones, frayed rugs and the pair of ponies laying on top of them. Trixie had eventually been convinced to reluctantly let go of Fluttershy, however she did not mind their new position. It was similar to the time she made up with her, both of them laying on their stomachs side to side against each other, and one yellow wing draped over Trixie's back. Trixie rested her head against Fluttershy's mane while she listened to her talk. And that is why they became known as Star Spider. Kind of interesting that it has nothing to do with their mark, isn't it? They actually got those marks later in recognition. Fluttershy smiled warmly while she recounted the tale. Trixie nodded slightly while she stared at the crude drawing etched out in the dust. It was an illustration of a star spider Fluttershy had made. A smile unfaltering on her face while she listened, wishing she had thought of something so obvious sooner. The animals here? Fluttershy visibly lit up. Oh, there's so many kinds. But this deep in the forest it is hard to find them. I think the only animals here are probably bats, oh, and the star spiders. I do not think they are very active this time of year though. Is that so? Why is that? Trixie felt something soft pressing down on her back and blinked, giving a quick glance backwards, discovering a butter yellow wing resting on top of her tattered cape. She gave a quick look towards Fluttershy, and was met with that warm smile. Well, that's a long story. Fluttershy winked, and let her wing press down while she sank through her legs, guiding both ponies down to rest upon the carpet. One hoof reached forward to edge a spider-like shape in the dirt cover the tile floor just beyond it, giving Trixie something to avert her gaze to. You see, the spiders, much like many animals, go through different periods of activity with the seasons. For example, Trixie stared down at the crudely drawn spider, grateful for having an excuse not to look Fluttershy in the face for a little while. She listened while Fluttershy told her all about the star spider seasons, personalities, and environmental effect. Trixie was sure many such other lectures could have followed, only requiring Trixie to name an animal to have Fluttershy tell her everything there was to know about it. She never needed a lesson in storytelling at all. She just needs the right subject. At least I learned something. If it was up to Trixie, she would have just stayed there and listened to that soft enchanting voice the rest of the day. She knew she could not stall for time indefinitely though, even if Fluttershy was never going to push her. Trixie had gotten enough time to recollect herself again. Fluttershy? Thank you for sharing that with Trixie. Trixie thinks she can tell you now. Trixie fidgeted nervously, her eyes lifting up from the spider to Fluttershy. Oh, are you sure? You don't have to if you don't want to, Trixie. Fluttershy was already looking at her. They met for the first time since Fluttershy had revealed a bit of her in Rainbow Dash's past. Yes, it's only fair, do you not agree? You've told Trixie about your childhood friend. It is merely appropriate Trixie tells you about hers. I don't see how. I mean... Yes, please go ahead. Trixie nodded. Her name was Flutterbouquet. The truth is, you remind Trixie of her. She used to be timid and shy. We met in magic school, second day of it actually. She did not have any friends and was drawn to Trixie's natural stage presence. Trixie thought she wanted to have some of Trixie rub off on her. Fluttershy's face turned a shade of pink, but she said nothing. Presence, some of Trixie's stage presence. Trixie looked away as though the entire thing was beneath her. She still stole a sideways glance. Don't look at Trixie like that. She was just a filly. Trixie coughed and cleared her throat, doing her best to suppress her embarrassment. It may surprise you, but Trixie was not always proficient in unicorn magic. Flitter was more advanced in magic at the time than Trixie, but she lacked the confidence to show it off. It was funny actually. Do you know what that timid pony's magic talent was? Fireworks, the kind of magic designed to draw attention. She chuckled softly while she stared at nothing for a moment, remembering that uncomfortable adorable look on Flitter's face when she admitted to it. Oh, I can imagine how she must have felt. Did you help her? The great and benevolent Trixie did. In return she helped Trixie get a working understanding of magic. Naturally Trixie's talent bloomed quickly, however it was more difficult to teach Flitter. She often relied on Trixie to do things for her, not that Trixie minded, so we spent much time together. Trixie decided to teach by example, and tried to encourage Flitter to follow suit. That sounds difficult. What kind of things did she need you for? Huh? For instance she was too shy to get in line for lunch, or just let other ponies go ahead of her. Which meant Trixie would have to lunch alone if she did not help her. Sometimes bullies. That kind of thing. Even if she was a slow learner, we had much fun together. Fluttershy smiled warmly as she listened. The similarities made it so easy for her to connect. Flitter was a good listener and Trixie a good talker. Trixie always had amazing stories to tell and Flitter helped her improve them. Back then Trixie did not have an audience yet, so Trixie was grateful to Flitter for always hearing her out. At the end of our talks Trixie would thank her for listening and, She paused and looked up at Fluttershy somewhat unsurely. Why did you stop? Did I do something wrong? Fluttershy looked worried. No, but, well. Trixie just wants to emphasize this was perfectly normal where Trixie came from. Okay? Trixie would kiss Flitter, on her cheek. Fluttershy blinked then blushed. And that was normal there, even back then? That's great. I mean not that it's bad here but it's not that open even now. I mean well. Showing interest in another filly in front of your whole school? I guess you really were a good choice to learn confidence from. Trixie stared at Fluttershy uncomprehendingly for a moment, then once she realized it her cheeks burned. What? No filly fooling, just kissing like that. It's a sign of friendship, but Trixie learned it has different meanings in different areas. Oh, is it? I'm sorry. Up in Cloudsdale only family members or special somneponies would do that. Fluttershy looked up at the sky as she spoke as if she expected to see the Cloud City up above. She contemplated on the idea for a moment then looked back to Trixie with a smile. I did not know it would be something fillies elsewhere did because they were friends. I think it's sweet. Trixie returned the smile. Trixie thinks so too, however there was something she did not take into account. Trixie's magic school was in Hoofington, but before that Trixie lived in St. Peter's Hoof. What difference does that make? Well, Trixie noticed Flitter would never return the gesture, she would just sit there and blush. At the time Trixie thought it was because she was shy. But they, might not have had the same customs, It never really occurred to Trixie at the time. Trixie coughed embarrassed while she suddenly found that spider drawing awfully interesting again to look at. Fluttershy giggled softly and shook her head. Well, did Flitter ever try to and correct you on that? If it's okay to ask, that is. Trixie shrugged. Trixie does not remember. So probably not. Maybe she was too shy to say anything. Fluttershy offered. No. Trixie said grimly. She got over that eventually. Trixie remembers that very well. Fluttershy went quiet with a sudden shift in tone. Trixie stared down at the star spider drawing. It was all just some stupid trick. As soon as she had actually learned a bit on how to be assertive, she turned on Trixie. Maybe the custom was not different at all, and she just did not return it because she did not feel we were friends to begin with. Trixie thought she had done something wrong, as unlikely as that was, but whenever Trixie tried to make it up to Flitter she rejected it. Until Trixie took the hint, she'd just been using Trixie. I'm sorry. Are you okay, Trixie? Fluttershy leaned down gently so she could look at Trixie's face, letting her wings stroking along her back reassuringly. With a grin, Trixie raised her head to look at Fluttershy. Of course Trixie is alright. It was so many years ago that Trixie is over it. Besides, the deal was to trade magic for courage and we each held up our end of the bargain. She just threw in an extra lesson, so Trixie came out ahead really. Don't you think? It does not take away the fun times, it really does not. Trixie felt it was so easy to say and sound convinced, after all she had practiced on herself over and over. Oh if you are sure. I can't imagine how I would feel if that happened. Fluttershy looked down at the tiles, a shiver ran over her back at the thought of Rainbow Dash turning on her like that. Trixie smiled and nudged her muzzle against Fluttershy's neck. Come on, you don't get to be the one that's depressed. It is nowhere near as bad as it sounds really. Even so, Trixie never told anyone before. It feels good to get to talk about it finally. Fluttershy was nudged out of her nightmarish thoughts, giving an appreciative glance at Trixie. Sorry, you're right. I knew it was not going to have a happy ending when you started, but it got so sweet at the middle I got my hopes up anyway. Sweet? Oh, I see. Trixie blushed and chuckled. Well, that is just the mark of a genius storyteller such as the great and powerful Trixie. She grinned pleased, then brought her volume back down. But seriously, Fluttershy? Thank you for listening. Trixie leaned in and gave Fluttershy a kiss on her cheek, hearing the soft gasp from the timid mare. Some soft thud sounded nearby and something bumped against Trixie's leg, her eyes sweeping down towards it. A muffin? Where did that come from? Trixie let her gaze follow the path of crumbs till it settled on a red paper bag. Several more baked goods had spilled out of it. Standing over the bag, staring open-mouthed directly at Trixie, was Rainbow Dash. This is not what it looks like. Trixie immediately called out. Course that always works. Chapter 33. Reunation. Rainbow Dash stared down the pair from amidst the scattered muffins and cupcakes she'd flown in for their lunch. She mentally tried to pass how much time had passed for her trip. Did she accidentally take a detour and come back years later? Why was Fluttershy cuddled up on the floor with Trixie, and why in Celestia's name was Trixie kissing Fluttershy? It is not what it looks like. Trixie could not have sounded more guilty if she'd tried. The call shook Rainbow Dash out of her stupor. She could feel her heart race and her blood start to boil. Are you kidding me? Not 5 seconds ago I was defending you. Do you realize what I had to agree to get out of telling Rarity where you are? Ugh, I can't believe this. She stomped a hoof down hard enough to crack the tile below it. Fluttershy's head shot up, looking from Trixie to Rainbow Dash and back. Her ears laid down flat against her head with all the screaming. The wing that had been covering Trixie snapped back and locked itself firmly against her side in fright. Wait. No, Rainbow, Trixie swears this is different. Trixie felt as if she was being choked. gasping for breath as she stumbled onto her hose, and put a bit of distance between herself and Fluttershy. If she was not right next to her, perhaps it would calm things down till she could explain. Different? So you were not just kissing Fluttershy? My flu. My best friend. Rainbow Dash's hooves scraped instinctively across the floor as she took a position ready to charge. Her wings flared out. Hey. Seconds after you supposedly love me. No, that was the idea, wasn't it? I reject you, so you thought you'd get revenge using Fluttershy. What did you tell Fluttershy? The same thing? She might actually believe you. That's a new low, Trixie, even for you. Trixie did no such thing. I mean, yes, the kiss. But that is not the point. Trixie did not tell Fluttershy that. Why do you always think the worst of Trixie? It's not fair. Trixie paused and blinked as for a moment Rainbow Dash appeared to double. Rainbow Dash seethed while she focused on Trixie. Everything else felt unimportant while she stepped closer. Because you keep proving that's what I should do. I try to give you every opportunity, I really do, because it's my fault you are hurt. She pointed a hoof towards the quivering Fluttershy. She looked nailed to the ground. Is this your idea of revenge? For what I did? I don't care what you do to me, I probably deserve it. But you leave Fluttershy out of it. That's where the line is drawn. Trixie shook her head to clear her vision. A dull painful pulsing picked up through her skull after the act. She did her best to ignore it. Trixie did nothing bad with her. Ask Fluttershy, we were just having fun. How does that make it any better? Rainbow Dash's chest felt as though it was on fire while she stared at Fluttershy. Hot tears ran down her cyan cheeks. Fluttershy was completely frozen under Rainbow Dash's stare. She does not look like she was having fun. You've been lying from the start. I fell for it. I see how it is now. I thought you were different. But the second you stopped being afraid of me, you showed your true colors. You really are just a terrible pony. No. That's not true. So shut up. Trixie looked from Rainbow Dash to Fluttershy and stepped closer, reaching out a hoof towards Fluttershy. See, come wake up. Tell her. Flut. Ga. The moment she saw Trixie make a move towards Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash covered the distance and put herself in between the pair, swiping one hoof at Trixie that forced her to back away. No, you are not getting near her, ever again. Fluttershy opened her mouth but no sound was coming out, or at least nothing that could overpower the two ponies shouting at each other. Trixie stumbled back, trembling while she looked at the pair of ponies, that now seemed so far away. Her vision blurred as tears came to her eyes. No. This isn't fair, Rainbow Dash. You said you would not be mad if Trixie talked to Fluttershy. You promised. Trixie swept up a hoof and cleared the tears away, but to her surprise her vision remained hazy. Rainbow Dash closed in on Trixie faster than she could backtrack, ending up face to face when she stopped. That's when I thought you actually had a heart. I did not think you would try to seduce her. For a moment I actually believed those things you said to me. I thought you were maybe just an unlucky good pony, but I was wrong. Her entire body shook with rage. Trixie backed up away from till she could feel the stone walls behind her. The entire thing was becoming awfully familiar all of a sudden as she found herself in a corner again. Mere inches away from an enraged Rainbow Dash. Back then Rainbow had not been nearly this angry. Trixie meant them. Trixie did not lie. Please believe Trixie. Trixie only wanted to know how to fix it. She's sorry. The tears were back, as were the buffalo in her head, but they did not hurt nearly as much as Rainbow Dash did. As if I would believe for a second you actually cared about anybody now. She watched Trixie scamper away and closed in slowly, barely containing the urge to charge the cowering unicorn. You know what? I'm sorry, Trixie. Yeah, you are. Distracting the Timberwolf with your life might have been the one selfless thing you would have ever done. I'm sorry I took that away. Maybe I should fix that. She was every bit as terrifying as Trixie expected her to be back then. Trixie reared up on her hind legs as Rainbow Dash approached closer, pressing her back against the cold ancient stone. Raising her forelegs to shield her face, she found herself repeating the same words. "Gee, go away. Leave Trixie alone." Rainbow Dash raised up, and struck her hooves against the cold stone on either side of Trixie's head, glaring at her. "You think you are getting off so easy? You play your little game and get away with no retribution?" She pulled her hooves off the wall and swung them back, poised to strike. To her surprise, Trixie dropped her guard. "What do you think you're doing?" Trixie sobbed in terror while she looked at Rainbow Dash, but let her hooves hang by her sides. She could feel her pulse going insane. The dull thuds had become searing. She could barely see the hesitation in Rainbow Dash's face through the stars. Trixie changed her mind. "Do it. Do whatever you want if it will fix all this, but don't leave Trixie alone." "You, what?" For just a moment Rainbow Dash felt sorry for Trixie. But then she realized. Trixie was smarter than she was, manipulating her was easy, but it was not going to work this time. "You think I won't do it? I'm not falling some cheap trick." Rainbow Dash reared back, but then felt herself falling backwards. No, not falling. A pair of shaking yellow hooves were wrapped around her chest from behind, pulling her back. Fluttershy collapsed on the floor with a yelp of pain as Rainbow Dash landed on top of her. She held on to Rainbow Dash for dear life. Please stop, Rainbow Dash. It's okay. It's true." Tears ran down her muzzle. "It was not what it looked like. Calm down. Though Fluttershy. I'm sorry. Are you hurt?" She felt her heart sink as she caught a glimpse of the mare's face. She still did not understand what had been going on, but even the shadiest phrase she could imagine felt completely sincere coming from Fluttershy. She could feel the fire in her body drain away. Then the color drained out of her face as she looked up at the quaking unicorn still standing defenselessly propped up against the corner. "And I almost, why did Nopo? Trixie." Trixie panted heavily while she stared down at the pair of pastel-colored spots laying on the floor. She could hear their voices, but all she heard was that weird annoying buzzing noise. Maybe it would go away if she slept for a bit. She felt so completely, unreasonably tired. Barely aware of the fact she had lost her balance, the stone floor came rushing at her. She had time for just one last thought before it hit her. So that's why Trixie is on the floor. Maybe she'll remember this time. Chapter 34. Recess. A loud bell announced the start of recess, prompting all the little unicorn fillies and colts to abandon their desks, then rush for the door as loudly as only classrooms can. The teacher, a white unicorn stallion with a black mane and kitty mark shaped like a book and alembic named Strict Silence, stopped his lesson and grunted with all the commotion. Trixie suspected the teaching was not really Professor Silence's calling. At first she thought he might be more suited as a librarian. He certainly seemed to have a good name for it, but in practice he never tried to quiet the class down. He simply allowed for as much talking or fooling around as his students wanted, and would continue his lesson completely undeterred. The reason for this was something Trixie had worked out over time. It had to be some kind of spell that simply stopped any sound, as it was not merely nonsense that he ignored, but also all questions or requests to use the little filly's room. The only time he actually responded was if a student was within a few hooves distance from him, and it seemed to annoy him. Trixie would not have minded as much, if it was not for the fact that he also ignored all the teasing she had endured the past weeks. With the class now empty, she approached Professor Silence till she was sure she was in his sphere and called out. "Professor? I want to report on 3 students that are picking on me. My mom said you would know what to do." Strict Silence gave a wary sigh while he turned his attention to the straggler. "Miss Luna Moon, this school's purpose is to sort out the wheat from the chaff in terms of magical abilities. Those with actual talent will be given recommendation to Celestia's School for Gifted Unicorns. What you describe is one of the ways we differentiate between the wheat and the chaff. That is simply the way of the world. If you are having trouble, then I am sure you can figure out which of the two you are. Chaff. You certainly will be with that attitude. You have made good progress since you started. Don't squander it on self-pity. Do not think that these things are static, they are relative. Wheat can easily become as worthless as chaff if it has to compete with higher quality wheat, so if the chaff works hard enough it. This analogy is breaking down. Do you understand? Either way, shouldn't you be elsewhere? Without waiting for a reply, he turned back to his desk and floated up a wheat sandwich with chaff. He's not going to do anything. Was that an analogy, or was he just hungry? That did not help at all. I guess I should go find Flitter before recess is over. She left the classroom and made her way towards the cafeteria. Usually Flitter would be there, letting every pony go ahead of her. Trixie could not believe how hard it was to get her to do much of anything. She already learned a spell from Flitter, but she had made no progress in getting her any more confident so far. The cafeteria was a busy place. Even if the school was not that big, it was still the biggest gathering of foals she had ever seen. On one side was the lunch mare's counter. She always had something for sale, but the menu tended to vary a lot, and all the good stuff was in short supply. Trixie especially liked the peanut butter chocolate chip muffins when she could get her hooves on them. Getting there late meant missing out on the specials for the day, and the staple menu was pretty bad, especially the oatmeal. Flitter Bouquet was almost always late, usually dead last and stuck with the oatmeal. It had been their main focus for confidence training. Each lunch period they took turns. One of them would sit down at the table closest to the counter area, and the other would get their lunches. Trixie served as example, with a confident stride and a quickening of her pace to get to the back of the line before another approaching pony just because she could. She would retrieve the coveted peanut butter chocolate muffins if they were there that day, one for each of them, or something else of the special list if she had to make do. The plan was to have Flitter mimic Trixie's approach in return with something special. But so far it always ended up with Flitter at the back of the line mumbling, "Excuse me," to the ponies that lined up in front of her while Trixie hoof gestured like crazy to get her to just get in line. This approach meant that half the time Trixie had to settle for oatmeal, and she would accuse Flitter of making her miss out on a proper lunch in jest. On one occasion she could not laugh it off, however, when she had to watch helplessly from her table as the last of her precious muffins got taken. She glared daggers at the continuously apologizing Flitter that day while she silently chewed her stale oats. However, to Trixie's surprise, Flitter was not at her usual spot at the back of the line. Excitement filled her as she brought her attention to the menu. Muffins were listed. "No way. You managed it this time." "Huh?" Flitter? The nearest table was empty, her friend nowhere to be found. Trixie let her gaze sweep over the rest of the tables, looking for the dull gray and purple colors of Flitter. It did not take long to spot her. Ironically, Flitter's dull tones made her stand out all the more amongst all the vibrant colored ponies, much to her chagrin. The good news: Flitter Bouquet was balancing a tray with 2 glorious peanut butter chocolate muffins on her back. The bad news: Flitter stood with her rump against a wall, and was surrounded by a very familiar trio of unicorns, Starlight, Sunny Days, and Moonrock. She dashed across the cafeteria towards the trio but stopped herself when she got within earshot, staring at the variously blue-coated trio. "Ah, wait, what am I going to do? I can't take them on, it never works, they're way better than me. I'll just get trashed again, and Flitter along with me. Come on, Bucket, hand them over. We're starving here, you wouldn't let poor starving ponies waste away, would you?" Starlight grinned. She stood directly in front of Flitter, her purple mane slicked back. Trixie hated her, she always started everything. "Yeah, look at poor Sunny, she's so hungry she can barely smile. You want to put a smile on her face, don't you, Bucket?" Moonrock added in an overly sympathetic tone, giving Flitter the puppy dog eyes treatment. Or rather, eyes long, deep blue locks covered the other one up. She was the smart one, and probably why the other two passed their first test with such high marks, She was also a horribly manipulative mule in Trixie's estimation. What? Girls, I have a lunch right here, I'm just way. Ooh, never mind, I got it. So hungry I can't think. And a bucket. Sunny Days giggled cheerily on Fleeta's right side, her short golden yellow mane shook as she did. Trixie did not really have anything bad to say about her. Fleeta looked panicked from one to the other as they spoke, her gaze lingering the longest on Starlight's amethyst eyes while the others only got passing glances. They were just like Trixie's. I can't, Weena, need ET too, please. I finally got a special. Yeah, you got one because every pony else was watching the fight. That's like cheating or something, Bucket. Everybody else already ate theirs and now you don't get any while you haven't even touched yours. I don't think so. Starlight leaned in closer. Hand them over. Don't be like that, Starlight. You know she's saving them for her, my friend. Isn't that right, Fleeta? Where is Trickery at? Did you think you were going to get a reward for getting this special? Oh, I know. A proper kiss? A date maybe? Moonrock's sly smile crept up as she watched Fleeta blush even through her dark coat and shake her head furiously. Is that all? I could kiss you and get a muffin, that's a good trade. Sunny Days laughed and leaned in, but received a swat to the horn by Starlight. Sunny. No. What's wrong with you? We talked about this. Kissing is for colts. Geez, what if some pony saw you? Do you want to be a weirdo like Trickery? Forget this, just grah. Behold. The great and powerful Trixie. New and improved. The greatest unicorn in Hoofington. Trixie stood up on one of the tables, screaming at the top of her lungs while a shower of red, grey and purple sparks rained down around her. While all eyes were glued to her, more than she had ever seen, she raised up one hoof at the sky, or ceiling in this case. Trixie has mastered magic. Who dares dispute her superiority? All those who doubt Trixie's power better flee now. She glanced at Fleeta Bouquet's eyes for just a second as she spoke the last words. What the hey? Trickery the best unicorn? Huh? Starlight shouted, but getting all eyes of the cafeteria on her made her stumble for a second. What are you looking at? She's the weirdo on the table. Moonrock for once did not try to follow up on Starlight, letting her and Trixie have all the attention. Sunny Days laughed at the spectacle. Are pretty lights. Are not very colorful though. Oh, let me try. She jumped on an opposite table and set her blue horn alight with an orange light and levitated 3 plates, each with the orange glow around them to make more light. Fleeta Bouquet looked up at Trixie, stunned for a moment by the crazy act. Once she caught her eyes though, she gave a small nod. The moment Sunny ran off to compete, she escaped through the gaping hole left in their formation and made for the door, carrying the muffin outside to their secret practice area. She gave one look back as she passed through the door, watching Trixie's flank give off a spark that was not part of the spell. Standing on top of the table in the cafeteria with all eyes on her as she outperformed Sunny Days' attempt to add light magic plates with an explosion of true-colored sparks. Trixie's kitty mark sparkled into existence. Was there ever any doubt?